posting my mama like your mama ain't dead as fuck. Go put some flowers on that bitch grave, nigga.
50 Cent has beefed with a lot of people over the years, but nobody saw this coming. T.I.'s son King Harris just went at him in the worst way possible. 50 wasn't letting that disrespect slide, not on his mama. Now new footage has surfaced showing them getting in a real heated face-off. Let's break it down. The blow-up, what actually happened. On February 22nd, this whole situation kicks off because of one post. On February 22nd, 2026, 50 Cent threw up a picture of Tiny Harris from one of her performances on his main Instagram feed. The photo was bad, like bad. The angle was off, the lighting was crazy, and the way she was captured in that particular moment, it was the type of photo that would have you tight if somebody screenshotted that of you. But 50 ain't just screenshot it, he posted it to his millions of followers, and the caption said, "I keep saying, keep my name out your mouth, okay? No tags, no location pin, no extra words, just the picture and that line." And that caption was a direct clap back to T.I., running 50 Cent's name on every podcast and interview he sat down for over the past few weeks. 50 dropped it on his permanent feed too, not his stories. That joint wasn't going nowhere. It was sitting right there for the whole internet to tap in and react. Now let's be real about who Tiny Harris is. She ain't just T.I.'s wife, she's a founding member of Xscape. She's been putting in work in this game for over 3 decades. She's a mother, a grandmother, and somebody who stayed completely out of this back and forth the entire time. She ain't say nothing, she ain't do nothing. And 50 used her image as his way of telling T.I. to pipe down. That post lit the fuse on everything. Within hours, King Harris, T.I. and Tiny's oldest son, born in 2004, caught wind of it, and bruh went all the way in. King's first move was pulling up to the comments directly under 50 Cent's post, short and to the point. He typed, "Where your mama?" That was the warning shot. That one comment told everybody exactly where this was headed. Then came the headstone. King posted an actual photograph of the grave marker of Sabrina Jackson, 50 Cent's mother. The headstone had her full name on it, her birth year of 1958, and her death year of 1983. King tagged 50 directly and wrote, another version floating around read, "This where your mama at." And then the rant dropped. King hopped in his whip, hit record, and went off on a multi-part Instagram story session. Red seats in the ride, no filter, no teleprompter, straight heat.
Bitch ass nigga wanna say something about my mama, your mama dead as fuck, nigga. Your mama dead as fuck. Go dig her up. Go dig her up.
He was not on no chill vibes at all. He kept sliding through clip after clip, hammering the same point home.
Post a picture of your motherfucking mama, nigga. She dead, nigga. Pay respect, nigga. Stop fucking playing with my mama, nigga.
And he laid out exactly where he stood. In his eyes, 50 had zero room to be posting anything about Tiny when his own mama was in the ground.
Nigga posting my mama like your mama ain't dead as fuck. Go put some flowers on that bitch grave, nigga.
Then King put Tiny on a pedestal and told 50 his family couldn't touch theirs when it came to respect.
Man, nigga posting my mama a motherfucking legend. Your mama a motherfucking J, nigga.
He closed it out by saying he'd run that same energy face to face, no cap.
You get on that do that bitch. You a hoe. I would say that shit to your face, nigga.
All of this, the comment, the headstone pic, the video rant, went down within a few hours on the night of February 22nd, rolling into the early morning of February 23rd, and that was just the sun holding it down. Pops hadn't even stepped to the mic yet, but that was about to change real quick because while King was going viral, T.I. was already lacing up his boots and heading to the studio. T.I. hits the studio, the War diss track. While King Harris was going stupid viral for his rant, T.I. was handling business the way a real MC is supposed to handle business. He slid into the studio. On the night of February 22nd, stretching into the wee hours of February 23rd, T.I. previewed a brand new diss record on his Instagram. The snippet ran about 30 to 60 seconds, and the beat was cooked up by DJ Toomp, the same hitmaker who laced the production on T.I. joints like What You Know and Bring 'Em Out. We're talking heavy 808s, grimy synths, trap percussion knocking. The whole vibe felt like somebody was suiting up for war, and that's literally what it was. T.I. hit the caption with, "Oh, you want war? Hey, we on that?" Got the right one this time. That duck emoji was a slick little shot. T.I. had already been calling 50 a duck in the IG comments before this, and the hashtag made it crystal clear he felt like this was the right one to step to. One YouTuber who broke the whole track down caught some of the coldest bars in the preview. T.I. was checking 50's whole style. The idea that all this dude does is troll from behind a screen, talk crazy with your thumbs, but won't pull up on nobody. Then came a bar that had the streets and the suburbs both talking. That That small man in a big shell line was a body shot. It boiled down 50 Cent's whole tough guy persona to a front, a big shell with a little dude hiding inside it. T.I. also called out how 50 moves selectively aggressive, pointing out he only seemed to have that smoke for black folks in the industry while keeping that same energy away from white gatekeepers and execs. Then T.I. slid into the catalog talk, which is really the root of this whole beef in the first place. T.I. was putting 50 on notice. Y'all are peers, same era, same accolades, same tier. You ain't above nobody, and the Verzuz you keep running from would have proved that. Then Tip dropped what a lot of reaction channels called the most disrespectful bar in the whole snippet. That was T.I. going through 50's whole resume and stamping mid on every category. Talent, looks, relevance, movement, none of it measured up in Tip's eyes. And then the haymaker. The DMX comparison was intentional, and it was disrespectful on purpose. T.I. was saying 50 got packaged and sold to the public as this raw, gritty street figure, the same kind of aggressive lane DMX occupied, but without the real substance to hold that position down. All image, no foundation. And then the closer of the preview, the bar that had everybody hitting rewind. That, thank you Tyson, you ain't tough as my son, joint was hitting on 2 levels. The Mike Tyson reference was about toughness at the highest level, and saying his own son was tougher than 50 Cent was a direct shout out to King Harris for how he went at 50 just hours before. The reaction channels were eating it up. The snippet went viral through repost pages like Academics TV and The Shade Room within hours. Every hip-hop blog had it up, and 50 Cent's response was on brand. He posted the sad Peppy Frog meme with the caption LOL, like none of it fazed him. That's his play every time. Act unbothered and let the memes do the talking. But the track had already done its job. T.I. moved the beef from IG trolling into the booth. He went from defending his people to putting it on wax. And unlike King's raw emotional explosion, the diss track was surgical, structured, and went after 50's ego, catalog, and character all in one take. Now the diss track and King's rant and the headstone photo, all of that is what popped off on February 22nd and 23. But none of it makes sense unless you understand what was cooking behind the scenes for weeks before any of this blew up. So let's rewind. How did we get here? The Verzuz beef explained. None of this drama would have ever jumped off if it wasn't for one conversation that allegedly went down in Los Angeles years ago. To really understand why 50 Cent posted that picture of Tiny and why King Harris ended up posting a dead woman's tombstone on the internet, you gotta rewind to the Verzuz talks. That's the genesis of all this smoke. T.I. pulled up to the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast with Gilly the King and Wallow 267 and laid out the whole story from jump. According to Tip, he and 50 were out in LA, chopping it up about television and film deals. They were in each other's orbit, building, doing business. And while they were kicking it, the Verzuz conversation came up naturally. T.I. said the game plan was simple. He'd go public first with the challenge to get the buzz popping, and then 50 would co-sign it, and they'd ride the wave into the actual event. A basic promo rollout, nothing complicated. So Tip held up his end. He went out there and called 50 out publicly just like they agreed. And according to him, 50 played dumb, acted like the whole conversation never happened. That's where the frustration started stacking up. T.I. felt like 50 had looked him in the eye, agreed to something like a man, and then switched up when the lights came on and left him looking crazy. And that right there is the sentence that flipped the whole dynamic of this beef. T.I. wasn't just tight about a Verzuz falling apart. He was calling into question 50's word as a man. He was saying that any dude who's gonna shake your hand in private and then front on you in public is somebody you can't rock with, period. That was the line drawn in the sand. T.I. told the world he didn't respect 50 Cent anymore. And in hip-hop, once the respect is gone, everything changes. The whole conversation stops being about music and catalogs and starts being about pride, ego, rep, and who's gonna fold first. 50 Cent's side of this was equally locked in, but delivered in that classic 50 fashion, short, petty, and engineered to get under your skin. He kept posting, "Keep my name out your mouth," all over Instagram, usually rocking the shrugging emoji like he was too unbothered to even type a full sentence. He also pulled out the King Rat tag, which was a grimy callback to old street credibility allegations. In hood terms, he was calling T.I. a snitch. T.I. came right back in the comments and said, "You playing on my name when only one of us a rat in real life? You know I got your paperwork, right?" He went even harder. "Your excuses is useless. Get your whole ass in the box or STFU and live in fear. You soft son. You've lost my respect. FCK and duck." That was the energy that was cooking for weeks before 50 ever brought Tiny into this. Sub shots, character assassinations, snitch allegations, and pull-up energy going back and forth forth on the gram. And the second 50 dragged the family into it, there was no putting the lid back on this pot. But to really understand why King Harris's response hit so different and why it had people split right down the middle, you need to know the story of the woman whose grave he posted. Because Sabrina Jackson's story is not just some footnote in this beef, it's one of the most tragic backstories in all of hip-hop. 50 Cent's mother, the story behind the headstone. When King Harris posted that headstone photo and told the internet this is where 50's mama at, a lot of people watching probably didn't know the full rundown on who Sabrina Jackson was. She wasn't just a name carved into stone. Her story is the foundation that built one of the biggest figures hip-hop has ever produced. Sabrina Jackson was born in 1958 and had Curtis Jackson when she was just 15 years old. 15, a whole child raising a child. She brought him up by herself in South Jamaica, Queens, one of the roughest pockets of New York City at the time. She was a single mother making it happen the only way she knew how for her and her son. 50 Cent has talked about her his entire career, calling her both his mother and his father, and saying she was the strongest person he ever knew in his life. In one interview early in his career, 50 kept it straightforward about what happened. He laid out how young Sabrina was when she had him, and how that situation pushed her into the streets to survive. A teenage girl holding down a household in one of the most treacherous neighborhoods in the city. No safety net, no second income, no support system outside of what she could build with her own two hands. So she went to the only economy that was booming around her block. Sabrina Jackson died in 1983. She was about 24 or 25 years old. The way 50 Cent has described what happened across multiple interviews spanning over 2 decades is that an unidentified person slipped something in her drink to knock her out, then turned the gas on in her apartment and bounced. The authorities ruled it a suspected homicide from jump based on what they found at the scene. Nobody was ever arrested. No suspect was ever named. No motive was ever made public. The case has been cold for over 42 years and counting. 50 Cent has said in interviews, someone put something in her drink and turned the gas on. He's repeated some variation of that exact sentence to The Guardian, Contact Music, Oprah, and everybody else who's ever asked him about it. The story has never switched up, not once. After Sabrina was gone, 8-year-old Curtis Jackson got taken in by his maternal grandparents, his grandmother Beulah Jackson and his grandfather, in the same South Jamaica neighborhood. They raised him in a tight household with about 8 relatives under one roof. That household became the only stability he had left after losing the one person who held his world together. 50 Cent carries a tattoo on his right forearm that reads Sabrina with the words Ghetto Angel dedicated to her memory. He's woven her presence into his interviews, his music, his TV projects like Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, and into how he talks about loss and resilience as a grown man. He once said, after that, every time something went wrong, I'd think, if my mother was here, it wouldn't be like that. That's the woman whose resting place King Harris photographed and told the world to go dig up. No matter where you stand on this beef or who you think was right or wrong, that's the weight behind that gravestone. That's who Sabrina Jackson was and what she meant to her son. And knowing all of that, you start to understand why this beef hits so different for people watching from the outside. Because what happened on February 22 didn't happen in a vacuum. Hip-hop has a long, messy history of pulling family members into the crossfire, and every time it happens, the same question comes up. Where's the line? The bigger picture, family and hip-hop beefs and where this goes. What went down between 50 Cent, T.I., and King Harris on February 22nd didn't come out of nowhere in terms of how hip-hop moves. The culture has a long and messy history with family members getting dragged into beefs. Sometimes it becomes the most iconic moment of the whole war, and sometimes it becomes the moment everybody agrees somebody went too far and it's a wrap. The blueprint is still Tupac and Biggie. On Hit 'Em Up in 1996, Pac told the whole world he slept with Faith Evans, Biggie's wife, and rapped the bar that became the most quoted diss line in the history of the genre. That set the standard for all of this. Going at your op's girl wasn't just trash talk. It was a psychological weapon designed to strip a man of his dignity in front of the entire hood and beyond. Then you had Hav and Nas. Jay-Z dropped Super Ugly in 2001, and on that record, he laid out an alleged relationship with Nas's baby mother, Carmen Bryan, in graphic detail. He rapped about leaving condoms on Nas's daughter's car seat. Carmen Bryan herself sat down years later and spoke on how that whole thing played out. She broke down how the details Jay spit were inaccurate and emotionally driven, and how the whole thing boomeranged on him in a major way. And then the part that everybody who was around for that era remembers. Jay-Z's own mother called into the radio station and made him apologize on air. Carmen confirmed he later admitted privately through a mutual friend that he wished he never dropped that joint. Fast forward to 2024, and the Drake and Kendrick Lamar war took the family involvement to a whole different stratosphere. Drake Drake's Family Matters questioned who fathered Kendrick's kids. Kendrick's Meet the Grahams addressed Drake's son Adonis, his mother Sandra, and a rumored hidden daughter all by name. That beef proved that in the modern era, absolutely nothing is off the table once two artists decide they're going scorched earth. But there's a massive difference between going at somebody's living family and going at somebody's dead family, and that's where King Harris's response sits in completely different territory. Bringing up a deceased mother, a woman who got murdered when her son was 8 years old, and her killer was never found. That crosses a threshold that goes past rap, past clout, past any beef. In battle rap circles, mentioning somebody's dead relative has literally caused fistfights to break out on stage, and entire events to get shut down. The unspoken code in hip-hop has always been that the dead, especially parents taken by violence, occupy a level of sacred ground that you don't touch unless you're prepared for real consequences. Now, did 50 Cent set this whole thing off by posting Tiny? 100%. And a lot of people watching this beef made that same observation. One YouTuber who covered the situation said it plain. He kept going and broke down why Tiny should have been left out of this from the rip. That's the general consensus from a lot of folks tapped into this situation. Tiny wasn't on no podcasts. She wasn't in nobody's comments. She wasn't calling nobody out. She was minding her business, being a wife and a mother and a grandmother. 50 used her as a pawn in a chess match with her husband, and her 21-year-old son, who grew up in the era of dissing the dead and no rules, internet warfare, responded the way somebody from his generation and his background was gonna respond. Some folks think T.I. is gonna pull King to the side and check him behind closed doors for going as far as he did with the gravestone picture. Others think T.I. basically gave King the green light by hitting the studio and dropping a diss track right behind it instead of trying to cool things down. Either way, the facts are the facts. This whole thing started over a Verzuz conversation, a conversation that was supposed to be about celebrating two legendary catalogs and giving the fans a show they'd never forget, and it turned into a dead woman's grave on Instagram, a family going to war with one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment industry, and a diss track called War that might just be the opening shot of something much bigger. 50 is probably gonna keep posting memes and acting unbothered. T.I. might drop the full version of War on streaming. King Harris might keep sliding in comments and stories, but the damage is already cooked into this thing, and no Verzuz battle, no matter how fire the catalogs are, is worth what this has become. Drop y'all take in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.